Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, I want to talk about shaders and shaders in RenderMan and also shaders in Cycles or Eevee, Blender default render engine. And I'll be using these 3D assets that's been borrowed to me by Kushiro. Kushiro is the creator of Grid Modeler add-on. You should see his YouTube channel and check it out. This tool, Grid Modeler, that he used to create this Mecha Suzanne. Okay, Mecha Suzanne was created by using the default Suzanne monkey head, and he simply make a model like Mecha on top of it using Grid Modeler. So adding all kind of details. Yeah, I think that's really cool. So yeah, we have this model. If we look at this in a different material, you can see in this material, this actually have different color per objects. Okay, this is something that I want to explain how I set it up. This random per color is actually something that I quickly bake using Cycles. Okay, that's the first thing. Cycles has a way to turn a single object. So this is a single Suzanne head with a lot of components, and I just give it a random color and I just bake it into Vertex Color. Okay, so that's something convenient that we can use in the future. This now if we switch to RenderMan, so basically the shader I have for this guy, we have this thing that goes into Eevee. We can also use Cycles, but Eevee for real time, and we have this RenderMan BxDF that's gonna render our 3D assets here. Okay, so this is the IPR render of the object. So it's gonna take some time to calculate until the noise starting to disappear, or we can use the denoising. But this is the kind of like what I want to show you. This is using, I think, using Pixar Disney shader. I can also use Pixar shader material. Yeah, the way I set it up based on the Vertex Color, because we have a way to randomize different parts. I'm using PxrVary set variable to color, and then this to CS, so we can get the Vertex Color. This is actually grabbing the Vertex Color from here automatically, so that's kind of convenient. And here I'm using PxrRamp to kind of recolorize the black and white into this gradient, and then just plug into this guy. I have an iron material that I didn't use. Maybe I switch. This is different materials altogether. Pixar Disney, this is like a legacy shader. It's still convenient to use, but I think RenderMan works nicely with the Pixar shader. So this is Pixar shader. Set to material that's a little bit metallic. Maybe this is like too strong in terms of diffuse metal, because metal shader doesn't have much diffuse, but it's more like I should give more primary specular and rough specularity, which is down there. But here I'm basically using a lot of iridescence. Let me turn off that iridescence. So now it's becoming a little bit more metallic. There's also this dirt shader that I was testing out earlier. Dirt shader is actually looking quite beautiful if I simply plug this into our diffuse, for example. I should mix the color, the diffuse color and the PxrDirt. So this is like a little bit like ambient occlusion, just a little bit dirtier. It's kind of nice too to have this. The result, I think this RGB result can be plugged into the specularity, or yeah. So now it's getting a different look altogether. I actually quite like this. So this is getting a variations. There is a way actually to work with to use something called PxrVary. We have something called PxrVary. This PxrVary can give you a different color based on different part of objects if they are actually separate. Currently, this is like a single object. Let me try to show you. So this is the final output, right? I will use Pixar constant. Let me try and see if this is working using constant bxdf. This is PxrVary. If I separate this guy, this is Blender 3. This is 2.92. I think I can use F3. Oh, it doesn't have separate every object. I need to go to tab and then separate by loose part here. Now we have how many objects here? We have a lot of objects, right? This is what all the separate parts. I kind of want to randomize this as well. You can randomize it using the easiest way, maybe using Python, and just maybe randomize using the same like a different materials. That's also something to try. But I want to give it Pixar varying color. I have an old video that's talking about PxrVary. It's kind of similar. I think it's currently using could be using the Vertex Color or no. Identifier by name. Okay, let me try input color, different hue. Okay, here, this is what I'm talking about. Different luminance. So with PxrVary and yeah, with just this single node, it's actually giving different color per object, but the objects need to be separated. With our method earlier, we actually give a random color and bake it into Vertex Color, so we can use something like this. It's a quite interesting and useful. This one is really just giving different color or different luminance and or different saturations. That's also working. This is the hue, right? This is maximum hue, saturations, a little bit luminance. This color, we can reduce the saturations here, so it's not that strong. It's just randomizing the luminance. Yeah, I think, yeah, something like this looks pretty nice. And then instead of using Pixar constant, we can use the Pixar material. Oh, okay, RenderMan shader is here. So Pixar surface shader. By default, only diffuse is being turned on. If I turn on things like iridescence, iridescence will show up there, but it's easier to control it over here. So plug this into the diffuse, for example, and this goes in the XDF. So different color per objects. Same deal with a PxrVary. Okay, this guy should have different Vertex color for each object now, which is also can be useful. Okay, this is just the diffuse, looking already kind of nice. Let's bump up the iridescence from here. So we have iridescence because it's collapsed. We can really control things. Maybe just add a little bit iridescence. By default, iridescence sets to primary, secondary color, red and blue. So it's giving this like kind of metallic. There's actually a real material that's looking like this. Sometimes they use it for car, so it's, yeah, looking really nice there. Actually, I want to spend a bit of time just using different materials on this beautiful model. I think if you're doing like if you're interested with 3D, I mean, you're not like maybe not professional 3D artist, but you want to just look at beautiful pictures, yeah, you can check some beautiful models from Sketchfab, for example, or you can contact 3D artists and then let's see if you can perhaps borrow like their assets and you want to see the render. Yeah, something like that, you know. It's quite common these days. Imagine like you are a photographer and you want to have like a session with a model, and you already have like professional photographer to talk about the techniques, things like that. It's gonna be more common. So rough specular, this is, if I started to add specularity, I can actually turn off things like diffuse. If I'm turning off the diffuse, now I'm just working with the specular. This is the default. This is what I get by default, and all the beautiful reflection is coming from this Atrium, Pixar Atrium. We haven't used the PxrVary yet. I can plug this in to this guy. Like that. Again, another different look. And on top of this is primary specular. So get used to collapsing this thing, collapsing and uncollapsing, and also clicking on and off here. Iridescent, clear coat. Let's just give this a color, for example. So this gives a lot of effects on the model. Artistic, physical. I like to use artistic. This and the effects of the shader will get mixed together. Yeah, so, but again, this is, you can get something like this like very quickly, quite beautiful as well. And for example, you want to add a different materials for different parts, you can do that now because they're all separate. It's easier. Sometimes you want them to be separate. Let me save this. This is the eye part, right? Eye part is really important. You can give it a different material. RenderMan, preset browsers. Let's find some metal material. Aluminum, bronze. I want something that's shiny. Gold, brass. Oh, this is funky aluminum brass. Import and assign. Okay, use this interesting button. So now this guy have different material. The color still there, Vertex Color, if you want to use it. We can also, we have different pipe here that maybe we can change and use something like glass. Pixar glass material is actually quite beautiful. Let's try this. This is like a tube. I'm selecting the objects already here. I want to use glass, thin glass, industrial. Okay, frosted glass. We use frosted glass often. Industrial glass. Hit this button, import and assign. Okay, now different materials. They are already they have different color before. Now they have different materials. Maybe the different color will disappear, but since they already have different materials, so yeah, you just keep going and giving different materials, and the look's gonna change and it's gonna improve a lot by a lot. Look, you can see the glass here. If I'm using strong light, this glass will have like refractions and causing caustics, which is gonna look pretty cool. I think the eyes could be gold, but no, let's do something else. These parts, for example, can be a different material. Keep it consistent. Ceramic glass, I'm more like thinking of, oh, look at this. Look at this, oh, this fancy shader. Maybe not for this cylinder. Plain gold, tungsten, brass. Okay, brass. I want to use the perforated one. Okay, this should be cool for some areas. Some areas that's a bit flat, we can then improve it using shader. Preset browser, metal, perforated, assign, import and assign. Of course, we have to deal sometimes with the scale of the texture shader. This is procedural using Pixar shaders. Let's see how it looks now. Actually, okay, there's this pipe. That's with the pipe. I like to use glass to make this more organic looking. The model is symmetrical. Yeah, I think that's okay. That's you can select this, then Command L, just link the material. Okay, we get it. That's for the glass. This part can have different materials also later. If we are okay, the realistic look is nice thanks to the all this dome light and all sort of thing. I can delete. This is without. This is with a single light. I think the basic light. Let's see how it looks. IPR. With single light, you can't see too much. Let's use a preset light rigs. Right click and use the RenderMan. Okay, RenderMan tend to be a little bit dark and dramatic. Actually, a little bit too dark. Maybe I have filmic. Maybe I have filmic color management turned on. Yeah, this thing. With filmic, okay, sometimes it's crunching the light, right? So if it's crunching the light, you need to increase this like really high. I think that's the idea. I sometimes I'm not quite sure. Yeah, this is the light being crunched by the color management by filmic. You can have different color management, of course, but this is important. This is affecting your render. Filmic, there's some others. Okay, this is using the basic light. Actually, if we use different materials on different parts, we're gonna get totally different look altogether. I want to improve some of the areas up here. Fabric, no. Metal, brass, copper. Copper material is cool, I think, because it can kill virus. I heard about that, but not sure if it's real or not. Preset browser, platinum, SS, something shiny, silver. Ooh. Aluminum perforated, maybe mercury. I'm assigning all kind of different metal, just testing out how can you handle this. RenderMan. Right click, preset, select like rig, 3-point lighting. Again, this is like already using filmic, so we can increase the strength of this light. Maybe it's too strong. 3-point light, not bad, not bad. You can see all the details, and it's gonna take, this is pretty fast. You can see the glass also looking beautiful, like glass, like organic, and the eye, I think the eyes need to be more funky, so I should give it like maybe like Fresnel or iridescence, but I'm starting to like this look. So the rest of the materials, yeah, it's using the iron. You can turn on the iridescent. We get this funky material happening. Of course, you can always reimagine this model in many different ways. For the full effects, of course, we usually add also indoor or outdoor. Let's make this outdoor. Annecy. Annecy is, I think it's at the beach. Let's try Griffith Observatory. Okay, this is like afternoon scenes. I haven't checked how to add a like HDR environment into RenderMan, but this is how it looks. This is afternoon. The glass looks really beautiful. I haven't checked it out how the shadow looks. Maybe I should add a floor. It might be too strong, but we have filmic here that can crunch the exposure. You want all the detail, but you don't want it to be overblown. So exposure and gamma to get the look you want. So you can see all the materials showing that this area is still a little bit too dark. This part is overblown. If I render this out as EXR, I actually have control, because EXR is kind of like high dynamic range, and you can further control the noise here. Something that we need to fix. I can try the denoising. Remember how we set it up and it was kind of complicated? Okay, but anyway, this is view layer. I can send the render now using this camera. Denoise already set up. Send this to external render, and the render is gonna kick in the background. Okay, see, this is the render. Remember that we need to change this to variance for now, and just leave this for a while. Okay, I want to show you actually how I import the model. So Kusiro sent me as a blend file. Robot Monkey send me, this is the blend file, and we can append the objects. This is the Robo Monkey as I got it from Kusiro. This Robo Monkey, you can check whether it's already having like a proper face orientations. So apparently not. Some of them is kind of flip. Go to edit mode, and then mesh normal. We want to recalculate inside or outside. Yep. Make sure they're all like this. Okay, there's some parts still red color. Maybe the normal is flip. Don't worry about that for now. So that's checking face orientations, but this guy doesn't have vertex color that I was talking about yet. We need to use cycles. Okay, go to shader. I'm gonna assign just a simple shader. and we're gonna use geometry random per island. So this is the cool part that I was talking about. A single object, I didn't separate the objects, and we can get different color like this. Here I'm using principle. I can use just emission. This is like a Pixar flat shader. Okay, I believe we can randomize this further using math. Multiply? Can I multiply this? Sometimes I want to randomize this further. But anyway, this is just random color. I just want to bake it. We can really quickly bake it. You know, it's pretty easy. Bake using emission, because we are using emission shader here. Just bake it into, instead of image texture, bake it into Vertex Color. Okay, simply bake. Oh, it's complaining there is no Vertex Color. Okay, we need to create Vertex Color first. Select this object again, bake. Now it's baking it into the vertex of each object, and this is a single material still. Now it's already have the Vertex Color bake. If you look at this under vertex pane, you can see each part have different color. You can also check it out. You can turn it on here. Different color for each part. That can be useful because we can use Python script or something like SphereChop to randomize a different material. So we can assign, let's say we have like a different material here, and we want to assign a different material to each object, like just like randomly using the different color. So that could be handy. With Vertex Paint, by the way, you might also know there's this dirty Vertex Color that will add some kind of dirtiness. This is also something that you might want to do, but you can also use PxrRenderMan to do that. Okay, so this is cycles. Let me just save this as varying demo. We're gonna switch to RenderMan render engine, and we're gonna give it a different just material, simple material. Glass, liquid, oops. Ceramics, glass, liquid, metal, simple material, plastic, glossy, okay. Green plastic, and give it a light. Indoor, actually no, light rigs, 3-point light, simple plastic material. Check it out. This is Pixar material. This is Blender Cycles material, shader material. By default, all the parameter is turned on. That's why it's so big. We have PxrDirt shader that we can use. Plug this into the diffuse. You can see how it looks by default. It's adding dirt into this guy, and it doesn't seem to be updating. Okay, let me do that again. Click here. Why is it green color and not updating? Okay, sometimes this happens. Okay, sometimes this happens, this bug. Until you change the color there, it's not updating. It's pretty funky. But this is PxrDirt material that you can also try. Some area gets a little bit too dark, but dirt, this is like similar to the Vertex Color dirt. You have a lot of control. This is almost like ambient occlusion. Maybe this is like ambient occlusion. Actually, you can test the cosine spread and the fall off. This is how it looks with the dirt. Let's check our result here. Yeah, this one is completed. Hopefully the result is clean. Filtered and variance. This is the result. Filtered is overblown, which is pretty funky. This is the result with the noise. With the one that's overblown, we can still crunch the color. Okay, let's save this. File, new. Okay, we're gonna switch to compositing. With this EXR output from Pixar, we can drop it here. Oh, use nodes. Drop this file here and check it out. We can delete this render layer. This is a viewer. This is the result. It's clean, but it's a little bit overblown. We might still be able to recover some. Oh, okay, maybe that's not possible. Maybe the light was too strong for this guy. So we need to re-render with a different setting. But this is compositing. With the denoising here, actually with something that's kind of noisy, we can actually denoise using Blender. However, I found it, the EXR from PxrRenderMan is a red color when I'm reading it using compositing in here. So the only way, maybe we can open it first using it and then export it out differently. So this has a lot of data. Look at this specular, actually it's not overblown. Oh, anyway, my point is that we can fix this using compositing. Just I don't know how to handle this CI. Back to our monkey head. This is definitely overblown, under filmic. When we render this out, the filmic is not being applied properly, I think. So I'm cutting the light by half. I can use like a different color. To make it more dramatic. Stop the IPR. Send the job again. So I believe for a single machine, or maybe you have two machines and you want to do like PxrRenderMan rendering, I think you can, with the non-commercial, you can have up to two machines. So you can basically render also in here while this job is rendering out here. You can do some rendering here and just keep adjusting the material. What could be cool in this is, of course, you can add texture, add a lot of micro scratch, things like that. What I often forgot is to add something like light. I haven't tested out, but we might be able to add things like light. Maybe the nose can be light object. convert to mesh live. Increase the intensity of the nose light. Should behave like light there. Kind of want it to glow as well. I'm deleting everything. Give it a Rembrandt dark painting look. Only the nose is giving the light. Pretty cool, I think, because it's like a mechanic, like a mecha objects. Usually, if you just simply work with the specularity, it's already kind of looking really nice. I make it 100 just now. Okay, I think this is as far as it can go with the light. This is Rembrandt light. Okay, this 50, then this is should be 200. Make it like super weird. Yeah, the nose can have different color. Too strong. Usually this can add a lot. Indoor Pixar Atrium. This is Pixar Dome light. We can adjust the intensity a little bit. Sometimes I don't know what exposure does compared to intensity. Yeah, interesting. If I make the eye also turn this into light object, convert to mesh light, intensity 2030. Yeah, the thing with render engine, you really the right materials and then it should render beautifully. Not always that simple, but in most cases that's what you want. Now it looks pretty evil. Let's see how our render is doing over here. Still rendering this guy, almost finished. This should be variance. %. Let's just wait a bit more. Okay, how is this going with our material? Maybe is the exposure 0 by default? It's really weird. I should increase this exposure and intensity max, color maybe red, make it really strong. Render again. So of course I think I'm using just the iMac M1 with 8 GB of RAM. I should have bought the 16 gig. It can handle more meshes. And the GPU, if you are using RTX, maybe faster also with the rendering, but I'm using what I got. This is also still pretty cool. And back in the days, year 2000, I mean, if you use like expensive graphic card, it will still render this slow. It's not slow, this is actually pretty fast. Our object is pretty complex, but you can see the result is gonna be quite interesting. This is not bad. This is, yeah, red color. This part's a little bit dark, I don't know why. Oh, okay, the light objects apparently have different color for each one of them. This one can be blue, eh? And can be 50 or 80. This can be 2. Now I know why. This skin looks pretty nice now. We make the eyes different color, like a red and blue, like a police. This is like white color nose as well. So it's looking like a skull, like a mecha skull. Really menacing looking robot. Suzanne. Kushiro did this in a few minutes or half hour. This one done. Ah, okay, it's doing the variance filter, the denoising filter. Still slightly overblown, but not too bad compared to the one we have before. But the result is pretty clean. I might need to bump out the resolution. This might render better actually. File, save as, number 7. Okay, so that's pretty much what I want to talk about. Okay, so yeah, we can use PxrVary nodes to randomize the color of every object. If you are separating every object, that's not wrong, but you're gonna have to deal with a lot of objects. If it's becoming like a single asset, it doesn't matter anyway. If you want this as a single object, still you can make the cycles random per island. That's also can work, and use that. Okay, things like cable here, I want to use different color. Maybe I'll do that in my own time. Hopefully you find this interesting and useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.